Welcome, everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everybody to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love. And of course, on the Dr. Carolyn Dean Live Show, we say uniting Dr. Dean with all of humanity. I think we're actually hearing our music. Is anybody hearing that? Okay, very good. We actually say uniting humankind with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean. And we're so happy to have you with us this evening. And boy, do we have a treat for you and a treat for everybody who's listening to the archives, to our podcast, pre-recorded show. Whenever you're listening, you're going to love this because tonight we have a very special listener panel joining us. People who've listened to the radio show, who've been working with Dr. Dean, working with their own health over the course of many years in some cases, to utilize to integrate her wisdom and her formulas and her sage advice into their lives. Now, this is not a medical advice show. And also, Dr. Dean doesn't give medical advice, but what she does do, and she does in such a marvelous and tremendous fashion, is she is a public health advocate. She has been at the beginning and at the leading and at the end and bringing up the front and the rear, and she's the caboose and she's the engine of the health freedom movement for many years. And her stand, her commitment is to teach people how to integrate nutrition, integrate holistic principles, integrate movement, integrate every asset they possibly can into their health, their vitality, and their own being, their own responsible choices, and experience the benefit of working with nature, of working with natural strategies. Yes, we all know there's a place for drug and devices, usually in critical care, sometimes in a trauma or something you're going to get in a car accident. Of course, you are going to want to go to the doctor and have your legs set. There's no doubt about that. But when we're talking about daily lifestyle choices, we're talking about taking responsibility for your health. And that's where Dr. Dean comes swinging in with the most incredible benefits you can imagine. So tonight, we're talking about health freedom. We're talking about benefiting yourself. We're talking about integrating this. We're talking about taking that health journey. And we've got our listener panel here to support you in understanding what the real life experience of that is. So we're grateful to have them. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of the #1 bestseller, The Magnesium Miracle, tons of free ebooks, resources, videos, webinars, guides, Kindles. There's no end to the expertise she shared, all at no cost with the public, and her willingness to be on the show as per usual every Monday night to make a difference for everyone who's listening. So without further ado, we bring her on. Welcome our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
And there are the children. I can't start without the children. Thank you, Ginny. Okay, so much to say. I'm not going to do housekeeping, but there's so much else going on. I do have to say, Ginny, according to my friend Jack McClinton, what I do is I break it down. I tell people what's really going on. And I mentioned that because last Friday, I was on Jack's Instagram iPod. We did 80 minutes. And you can see that interview. I think Jenny's going to put it up on our social media. You can go to Manifest McClinton, McClinton, and get the show on his Instagram. So I wanted to mention that. I also want to say that we're getting a lot of incredible feedback on our vitamin C reset berry powder with potassium and 2 grams of vitamin C, ascorbic acid. People love it. I love it because it does eliminate the taste of the minerals. So, having put that information out there, Chad was saying that he did put it out in our email blogs about the vitamin C reset. And we had a big surge, even more than usual, on our Remag liquid because now people can take their Remag liquid with the berry powder and they don't have to worry about the test. So that's totally awesome. And we do have a guest panel, as Jenny mentioned. Bob is here, Claudia and Debbie, to talk about their experience with their thyroids and their adrenals. But we do have to go through some basics because there are new listeners. So what I do is just go through the blog that Jenny sends out on the Monday morning. And the blog usually is just taken from some of my writing. This one may be from the book Total Body Reset for Your Thyroid. That's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com. And the blog itself is at actually drcarolyndeanlive.com as well, or you got it in your email. But just to overview, and I'll jump through the blog because we do want to get to our guests in our mailbag. So minerals are extremely important for the adrenals, thyroid, and sex hormones. They all work together. When one is deficient, the others kind of have to support the one that's deficient. So they work together. And how we know that is on blood tests. When the cortisol levels, the stress cortisol levels from the adrenals go up, the thyroid hormone levels go down. So a lot of stress will increase the cortisol. Now, it doesn't happen just boom, your cortisol goes up, your thyroid goes down. What's happening underneath there is your magnesium is getting low. Your magnesium is being used up, and your other minerals as well. And that will trigger down the stream to your thyroid. It's a bit complicated, but it's very intermingled with your minerals. And something that I have to put in the next edition of Total Body Reset for Your Thyroid is that the thyroid gland has receptors for the hormone progesterone, female hormone progesterone. So as progesterone binds with these thyroid receptors, the thyroid cells produce thyroid hormones. So look how intimate a connection that is. So if there isn't enough progesterone available, production of thyroid hormones is often low. And what we know about our estrogen progesterone balance is a lot of people have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. And that I do talk about. What book would that be? I probably talk about it a bit in Total Body Reset for Your Thyroid, but also the Remite Recalcia book, because our Remite is the major treatment for low thyroid hormone production. And the blog goes on to talk about, what to treat first, the adrenal or thyroid. Some natural medicine doctors think that the body works in a linear fashion, but we just say, give the cells the nutrition they require, and the body will sort it out. If the priority of the body is to go for your thyroid first, it will. If the priority is to go for your adrenals, it will, as long as it has the building blocks, and I'll get to those shortly. Because yes, the standard treatment for thyroid, even in natural medicine, is to give thyroid replacement therapy. However, as I found out when I was researching for remite, 9 of the 12 minerals in remite are required to make thyroid hormones. And I myself, when I was first taking it in the trial runs, within 6 weeks, I no longer had to take my 60 milligrams of Armour thyroid because my thyroid was working to produce its own hormones. And that's what happens with many of our, well, most, I should say, of our customers. And what we caution people on here on the radio show and in the books is that you have to keep track of how you're feeling. If you're starting to get warm, your hands are warming up, you're feeling a little more hyper than usual, then you have to get your thyroid hormones tested to see if maybe you're making enough now. And with your doctor, you can wean back on your thyroid hormone, the synthetic or the natural thyroid hormone replacement, because you no longer need that replacement. So with adrenal fatigue and dysfunction, I also talk about poor diet, mineral deficiencies, emotional stress, chronic inflammation, and underactive thyroid. But what's causing the inflammation is often mineral deficiencies. I mean, magnesium, for example, is the best anti-inflammatory. So if you don't have that circulating in your body, then your body's going to feel inflamed. And diet-wise for thyroid and adrenals, it's avoiding the refined sugars, the glutens, processed dairy. They can lead to inflammation themselves. And what they also do, especially the sugars, the wheat and dairy, is they'll grow extra yeast in your large intestines, and then that yeast can travel up to your small intestine, cause leaky gut, cause the 178 different yeast toxins to be absorbed through that leaky gut, and cause symptoms throughout the body. Arthritis, chronic fatigue, and pain can be part of the yeast overgrowth. And we also think of those symptoms with low thyroid. So they're all mixed together. What we know about, say, magnesium and molybdenum is they help detoxify the yeast toxins, but it's much better to go on a yeast-free diet and do our yeast management. And that entails using our Flora Revive, which is our probiotic and antifungal, and our Pico Silver, which is important as an anti-infective, including an antifungal. And we want to do that because the yeast toxins can directly block thyroid function and possibly adrenal function as well. The treatment for adrenal fatigue, it begins with sodium. And, people who also with their adrenal fatigue have blood pressure problems, heart problems, they've been told to avoid sodium. So by avoiding sodium, you may be worsening your adrenal fatigue. But I'm not talking about table salt sodium, which is just sodium chloride. I want people to have a sea salt sodium support. And that's where I begin with telling people to take care of their health by hydrating with sea salted water. And it's a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt in your purified water, whatever water you're drinking. And the amount of water is important. You take your body weight, divide that in half, and drink that many ounces of water a day. And in each liter, put a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. So there's your sodium for the day. And let's just go on here. The best diet, as said already, is yeast-free, which is avoiding sugar, gluten, and dairy. And with the thyroid. I also already mentioned the 9 minerals. That's your remite. And the dosage, I just keep it at 1.5 teaspoons. You start with a 1/4 teaspoon, work up to 1.5 teaspoons. I don't want people overloading on minerals. The body will utilize the minerals that you give it, and over time it'll build up your mineral stores. And the sex hormones are supported also by minerals and the proper function of thyroid and adrenals. We've had people tell us when they saturate with their remag, dozens of menopause symptoms will go away. So that is good to know how they all work together. So that's just the wrap up then is thyroid. You're taking your remite, your remag, and doing a yeast detox. Of course, all the complement formulas are supportive, but that's your focus. For the adrenals, I mean, I guess what got me into our pico potassium was because for the adrenals, you want your sea salt, you want a potassium source, you want a vitamin C source. And I was very concerned that people were taking home remedies for their potassium, taking a cream of tartar, which you have no idea how much potassium is in each box you buy. So that was putting people at risk. People who are our customers, they're often on medications for their heart, and they've been told to avoid potassium. So we had to be very careful. So the pico potassium seemed to be something that was very important for me to get around the FDA ruling that you could only put 99 milligrams of potassium in a dose of a potassium supplement. So I made the pico potassium 1/4 teaspoon per dose. And if you take your teaspoon of pico potassium, you're getting about 400 milligrams. And low potassium levels totally associated with the adrenals, so is vitamin C. So with our vitamin C reset, our sea salt, I put my vitamin C reset in, and my minerals and my sea salt all in a big jug of water. And with the vitamin C reset, it has your ascorbic acid, and it also has 407 grams of food-based potassium. So that is a good balancer. There's a lot more to say, but we do want to get to our guests. I'll ask Ginny if she has anything to add to the overview that describes thyroid insufficiency or hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue.
Well, the one thing I just want to kind of make sure we connect the dots on, and we know we have so many people, thousands and thousands of people who listen to the radio show, and some of them have been told, Carolyn, about this adrenal cocktail and cream of tartar and orange juice and stuff. And you and I sat down and figured out that our vitamin C reset and a good whack of potassium, pico potassium, is even better than a adrenal cocktail. Can you talk about that for just a minute? I know you touched on putting it together, but I want to make it kind of a comparison of that adrenal cocktail because I think that's not very good information.
Right. You do have to watch out about home remedies. What it is, it's actually taking orange juice, and that's kind of not on our yeast diet right there. The high fructose and glucose levels in orange juice are usually verboten. So right away, that was a problem. The cream of tartar, as I said, you have no idea how many milligrams of potassium you're getting. If you're on a heart regimen with our products and maybe still taking your medications, and from jar to jar or box to box of cream of tartar, the potassium amount changes, you could be throwing off your other medications. We know when you're low in magnesium, you're also low in potassium, and to support saturating your body with magnesium, you really do need potassium. I used to tell people to make a potassium broth or eat a lot of vegetables and hope that the body sorted it out. But when we're giving people these high amounts of magnesium, we do want to support it with a measurable amount of potassium. And I also mentioned the sea salt. So the home remedy is, a glass of orange juice, whatever, quarter, half a teaspoon of sea salt, and a teaspoon or so of cream of tartar. And you just, chug it back and hope for the best. So we're not really interested in that type of treatment, because it's so much focused on just, I don't know, trying to treat yourself with a home remedy when you're in the midst of a health problem is not a good idea. When you have a good alternative, which, as Jenny said, is our adrenal cocktail with the vitamin C reset, the peak of potassium, and the sea salt. Now, some people in the home remedy world of adrenals will say that ascorbic acid is not good for the body. The reason they say that is because compared to a whole food vitamin C, it doesn't have the enzymes and the copper. There is an enzyme in whole food vitamin C that has copper attached, which is very helpful. So some people say, well, ascorbic acid will deplete your copper. Well, that's kind of stretching the truth a little. And that's why we did put some food-based berry powder in our ascorbic acid. That's what gives it its lovely taste. And I do also recommend people take 1 or 2 capsules of whole C reset every day, because the whole complex of vitamin C, it's got eight different compounds. They all have different goals in the body, different things, different processes that they deal with. So a lot of rambling there. I mean, there's so much information, but you could get the information on our vitamin C's at, where is it? Which book is that? Probably Total Body Immunity. We talk about whole C reset. And I think I talk about the vitamin C reset. I probably have to update that book now, Ginny, that we put out the product. So there you go. Another few minutes wasted.
Oh, no, never waste, never waste, never waste. All right, so we've got some great guests this evening, Carolyn, that we wanted to bring on and talk a little bit, because the challenge of working with the thyroid and the adrenals, whenever you're rehabilitating or doing the total body reset or really bringing your body to a reset position, it's a little bit of a journey. It's, drugs and devices can work quickly and overnight sometimes. And sometimes people get discouraged by taking the longer, more practical road of nutrients. And so we thought we'd bring on some people to talk about their experience and share a little bit with the audience about what they've been up to, and answer any questions that may come up. And I want to start this evening with Claudia, because she's got the least amount of time to spend with us this evening. So welcome to the show, Claudia. And Dr. Dean, take it away.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Oh, do you want me to tell you my story?
Yeah, take it away. Ginny,
Well,
what does take it away mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yes, we'd love to hear. Yeah, tell us your story. Tell us a little bit how you found us and what happened.
In the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, I began taking care of both of my elderly folks, and they lived on our farm with us in a separate home, but very close to ours for almost a decade. And so my cumulative stress built up over this period of time. And it's very stressful taking care of an elderly parent. And for anyone who's done it, I'm sure they can relate. I mean, I love both my folks, but it was very stressful. And I began to notice that I was having a lot of problems dealing with heat in the summer. I couldn't go outside during the day much because the heat just bothered me so much. And my heart rate was totally out of whack. My nerves were frazzled. I'd fly off the handle at anything. My stress level was just so bad that I I knew that I wasn't going to be able to last very long like that. And unfortunately, on one hand, but fortunately on the other hand, I got in a really bad ski accident in 2005. And the doctors discovered that not only was I suffering from an AFib heart rate, but I also had extreme problem with my thyroid, and I was hyperthyroid, and they said you have Graves' disease. So I obviously had to visit with an endocrinologist. And the most frustrating thing about dealing with him was that he couldn't tell me why I had Graves' disease. He just said, you've been under stress, but he couldn't, if he'd mentioned a mineral deficiency can cause this problem due to, from the stress, I might have been able to address it then, but there was nothing for me to do other than follow his guidelines. So they radiated my thyroid, and then of course put me on levothyroxine without even, they didn't tell me there was more than one type of thyroid medication. They just put you on a medication, right, and there you go. So, this just continued on and on and on. And finally, 2016, 10 years of having to put up with all of this. I came down with the shingles because I was taking care of my elderly dog. And that's when I knew my life had to change. I had to figure out what to do, because I didn't think I thought I was gonna have a stroke or have some type of very serious health problem if I didn't fix I didn't fix my life, basically. And I found Dr. Dean's book, The Magnesium Miracle, online after doing extensive research on stress-induced health issues, including, irregular heartbeats. And I didn't buy your product right away because I thought, well, this is just another typical, salesman trying to sell their product.
Right.
But once I did, within 6 weeks' time, I started noticing a huge difference. And then I added your Remite a little bit later on. And that's when my thyroid started working better, what's left of it. And I noticed my energy levels picking up and my mood was chipper. And I mean, I really noticed this transformation, and so did my husband. And I had to decrease my thyroid medication because I couldn't sit down. I was just hyper. I'm like, I need to do something. I need to go outside and walk, and I need to work out, and I need to do all this stuff. So I knew that I'd found something that was going to really help me.
That's amazing. Tell me, you had your thyroid irradiated, so they pretty much told you your thyroid was non-functioning, but you're saying taking the Remite, it seems like some of your thyroid came back.
Well, it must have. They must not have been able to, destroy all of it. And the Remite really made a difference. So I know that it did something to cause the thyroid to begin operating what was still functional. It did better, and that's when I called my doctor and I said, I think I need to really cut back on my thyroid medication because I'm just, I'm so full of energy. I don't know what to do.
So what
And,
did your doctor say, Claudia?
well, I told her about the products and whatnot, and she, she hemmed and hawed a little bit, but understood where my research was leading me. And she lessened the dose, and we toyed with that a little bit. But I switched doctors just this year to a naturopath, and I said, can I try the Armour thyroid now? Because I said, and so now I'm taking that, but it's a really low dose, and we're just toying with it. And I just got my blood test kit from your outfit, so I can participate in that. And I'm going to take that within the next week, submit that so that I can play with this a little bit more and see, how much more Armour thyroid I can reduce out of my daily intake.
That's wonderful. Okay, let me just drive this point home a little more. I do often say to people who tell me they've had their thyroid removed surgically or irradiated, I said, well, there's still maybe some thyroid cells they're still begging for minerals. Just go ahead and feed them. And also to remind people that Remite is not just for the thyroid. I get so excited about it myself that I tend to promote it for the thyroid, but there are 12 minerals. All those minerals are doing hundreds of functions in the body. They're really, really necessary and important. So don't think that it's just a thyroid medication, but tell us about your AFib. Was that mainly a consequence of your Graves' disease speeding up your thyroid?
That's what they believe. At first they thought it was the ski accident, and I said, I don't think so. I think I think I've had a wacky heart rate for some time. I could have been have an AFib rate for years and just ignored it. I was stupid. I should have gone to the doctor, but I just don't like going to the doctor very much. And now I pay really close attention to it. And it's just, my heart rate has been so wonderful in the last 2 years. I've only had 1 or 2 episodes where it gets a little bit cranky. And it's usually when I'm physically tired and I didn't go to bed at my regular time, and I stayed up till, 10, by gosh. I thrive on 9 hours of sleep. I go to bed very early and I get up very early, and I like that routine. So I find that the sleep, mainly due to the magnesium helping me sleep so well, really helps keep my body in sync. And my heart has just been fantastic. And the heart doctor, of course, wanted to put me on all these drugs and blood thinners, and he wanted to talked about doing an ablation, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. And I did take him that report that you have on your website about, how the magnesium deficiency is becoming so prevalent, or has been. And I took it and left it for him, and I said, read this. The magnesium supplement's really helping. I hope you can help other patients.
That's good. Good for you. Yeah, it's like layering of the onion, Claudia. The more times these doctors hear about magnesium, then eventually, and especially if they or one of their family members gets a regular heart rate or AFib. But yes, that's something I'm pretty sure I have it in my heart health book under AFib, that one of the causes can be when your thyroid goes hyper. And some people can go through hypo states and nobody can figure it out. But it does appear that not that you use Remite for your Graves' disease. I don't really recommend that straight on, but the Remite seems to be able to to balance out minor hyperthyroidism. I do have a section on Graves' disease in the thyroid book, where there are other things that are important to look at with Graves' disease. It is a bit harder to handle, and it can be a medical emergency when you have so much thyroid hormone coursing through your body. It elevates your heart rate and makes you think like, you know, you're jumping out of your skin. It's like a total body irritant. Is that right, Claudia?
Oh, yes, irritant is a very good word for it.
Okay, I'm going to ask Ginny if she has questions for you and our other guests about what you went through, because it's really wonderful to hear your experience and how you came out the other end. Go ahead, Ginny.
Oh, yep. Here I am. Sorry, I was trying to get my button to work. I did, Claudia, want to ask you, when you encountered, what is the biggest obstacle that you think you encountered as far as when you first started incorporating the products? Because I think that is something that people like to hear. How did you get over the little hump? Were you encouraged right away, or did you have to work with it a little while, or what happened there?
No, okay, I bought a bottle, right? And I thought, I'll take I'll take this with the sea salted water like you suggested, and I broke it down. So I took several different doses during the day in the sea water, or the sea salted water. And I think it had to have been within that first bottle that I started feeling better, because so it would have been 3 or 4 weeks. And I think I probably started sleeping better, which would be the first clue that something was going well, because my sleep was just terrible. For years, it was terrible. And, it really bothered me that I didn't sleep well. And I worried about everything. And I got road rage. People would, drive terrible. And I noticed that all of these things went away. All of these things that seemed to peck at me, they quit bothering me. And so I thought, well, gee, I got to keep doing this. And that's when I added the Remite, because I thought, well, I'll try another product. And then I bought the bundle, and everything just kind of fell in line. And then I started feeling so darn good. My friends were jealous, because I was happy all the time. I am right now. I mean, I am, and my husband takes the products and he's happy. Nothing bothers us. We are, this COVID thing, we just handled this so well. And stressful situations, I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it provided a little insight as to how happy I am with the products.
Yeah, no, that's great. You did answer. And I think one of the things I was just asking about was obstacles. And COVID has been a big obstacle for people, because they have been on the products and they've been used to thinking about them a certain way, but they weren't necessarily used to thinking about, wow, I've got this protection now that I didn't have before, and I really can have confidence in my body and what it's able to do. So that's really exciting that you mentioned that too. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yes, and we think of Remite for the thyroid, but what you did, Claudia, you started with the Remag, and that, well, we know it supports 80% of known metabolic functions. It works on 1,000 different systems, so it's going to help support so much, including the thyroid. But yes, the sleep, when you started getting good rest, your body was able to start to heal and make use of the magnesium. And that's what we call Remag our gateway drug, because as soon as people take that, they start feeling so good, they want more. It's like, well, I'm feeling good, but she's got more stuff, I want it. So it's very kind of typically wonderful what you went through.
Awesome.
and I've told so many people, and nobody, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people believe me. You know, I've gotten a few friends to take the product, but maybe they aren't as desperate as I was to try to find something that wasn't a, you know, a prescription drug. And I didn't want to go that route.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
people are pretty, I don't know if it's paranoid or jaded or whatever. They do have to come to the desperate point, or again, they have to hear about it a whole bunch of different times before it sinks in that it's something that could help them. But, you know, we appreciate you telling people and telling your doctor. We can even send your doctor a kit, practitioner's kit, so that
yes,
they can,
I think you've done that already. I'm pretty sure that I submitted her name and everything.
oh, good. Look
And
at you.
she was looking forward to it. So
Oh, that's wonderful. The naturopath. Well, that's
yes.
great.
That's awesome.
Okay. So, Ginny.
Yep. And let me just say, listeners, if you have a question for Claudia, she's only going to be with us, I think, until the top of the hour. She had a limited time. So if you have questions, if you can relate to her experience, you want to ask anything. I know one question that a lot of people always ask, Claudia, is, I won't put you on the spot, but how do you get your husband to take them? Because so many people want their spouse to take the products, and their husbands are.
He noticed a difference in my demeanor. Because of my stress level and all my health issues due to the stress of having to deal with my parents, and then with my poor old dog, I just couldn't leave her. She was, you know, I just couldn't leave her alone, and I wanted to take care of her, you know, as she was slowly, you know, getting to the age where I knew she wasn't going to last very long. And I was crabby, and I was, you know, would snap at him, and I would, he just, you know, knew I was uptight. And once I started taking the magnesium and the other products, he could see a total transformation in me. And, you know, I would, in the morning, I'm like whistling and singing and chipper, and he just said, well, I want to take whatever you're taking.
I want some of that. Yeah. I want
awesome.
He's the same way. And he just, last week we had a pretty stressful situation here, and he just started laughing, and he says, oh, I'm just gonna go take some more magnesium. he says, I don't care. And you know, it's helped us both. And he takes all the other products too. So he's feeling younger. He's 63, and he's been on backpacking trips this summer. And he said, boy, you know what? I did better this year than I did last year or the year before. And his physical fitness level has improved, because he feels better and wants to go, you know, work out more. And it's like a new starting point for us. And I wish we'd been on these products in our 40s or 30s even.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so sweet. That's neat.
That's wonderful. But yeah, you're here now, and I think let's just make a scale here for every year that we go on with our supplements, or no, our complement formulas. It eliminates 2 years.
Well, I'm hoping in another 10, 15 years, I look like you.
Oh, there you go. Okay. That's what we'll aim for, because yeah, I seriously feel, 30 years younger than I am. Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, Claudia, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, Ginny, we'll see if there's any.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ginny, we'll look for questions on the chat or by phone. Go ahead, Ginny.
Right. And listen, if you are listening again through the archives and you have a question for any of our guests, we do matchmaking after the shows all the time. Not a problem. Just email questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com. Melody Rose, who handles our radio show emails, will be sure to get you connected or get your question to Dr. Dean or any one of our guests. And we'll be happy to get the response for you. No problem. Well, Claudia, stand by because I want to bring Bob on and let him talk a little bit about his experience. Then we're going to get Debbie in the mix. We've got some questions on the mailbag too that I know Carolyn wants to get to. Bob, can you
Yes.
come on in and join the party and let us know a little bit about your experience? It's so great to have a man on the call here talking about health issues for males because it's different than for women. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I first got, connected with Dr. Dean's complement supplements, as a result of an article I read. I'll back up a little bit. At 58, I developed type 2 diabetes. I weighed 180 pounds. I'm only 5'6". I was way overweight. My doctor sat me down and it was kind of like I felt I was in the Matrix. He put out one hand and he said, well, you have this option. And he opened his hand and there was this red pill in his hand. And he said, and I said, well, what's this? And he said, well, this starts with metformin and then we'll start with something else in 5 years because you'll become allergic to that and you'll gain weight and but you can go on eating all that crap you're eating. And, and he said, probably in 15 years, I'll start cutting off your toes. And I said, I want to see the other hand, and so he opened the other hand and it was empty, and he said to me, and I said, so what's this? And he said, well, this is the hard one. He said, this hand has got the secret, but it's really the hardest. And I said, well, tell me what it is. He said, well, you have to change your lifestyle. And, if you change your lifestyle, you can become free of your diabetes. And, he put me through a process where he taught me to learn to manage my health through empirical evidence. So for the first 3 months, I took blood sticks, before every meal and after every meal. I knew what food jumped my sugar. I knew what didn't jump my sugar. And I'm now 74 and I've never taken any medication for diabetes. And, but, he really empowered me to really look for, and understand what was going on in my body. And, so I changed my diet. I lost 30 pounds in the first 6 months, and I've now lost a total of 40 pounds. And, my blood sugar is better than most people who are, on a day-to-day basis. So, but I read an article by Dr. Dean that really just caught my interest because I was always looking for something else as to why did I get this and what could have been the cause of getting this diabetes. And there was this article that listed out the maladies, and that was the result of magnesium deficiency. And one of them was high blood pressure, which I've suffered from, and the next one was diabetes. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I've been doing all this work for so many years, and I've never read a single article about magnesium and diabetes or magnesium and, high blood pressure. And so I've watched every video that Dr. Dean has ever made. I've read her book 3 times over. I've given it away to friends. They think I'm they say, is this the Bible? I said, yes, it's the Bible of magnesium. Take it. And, I really have studied your work entirely. So like the previous guest, I was a little concerned because, taking something I don't know, I'm willing to try that. So what I did is I started making magnesium oil from, rock salts and, from the salts of the Mediterranean.
Magnesium chloride. The magnesium chloride one.
I walked around with a spray bottle spraying myself all the time and rubbing it into my skin and all the rest. And, I started after, just with that, maybe within a month or two, I started feeling really good. I mean, really good. It didn't help my blood sugar and it didn't help my diabetes that much, but, I started feeling good. But I really listened to probably one of the things you said in the very beginning of your tapes and your interviews was, you got to give this time. This is not going to be something that, is going to make you feel great just in the first day or the first week. You'll see some progress. And I can say that, I started taking this probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago. I had body pains that anybody, in their late 60s, this aches, that aches. I would say I'm almost completely free of body pain. Joints, aches, just one by one, gradually, they just disappeared. I would say that, I'll be 75 in April. For the last 5 years, I drove a limousine and I've driven around the world, equivalent of driving around the world about 6 times, more than 240 miles, working, many, many hours a day. And the guys who are 20 years younger than me are asking, what are you taking? Are you doing speed or what are you on? I said, I'm on magnesium, man. This is better than speed, and, so I have enormous energy. I have less body pain. I sleep well. I'm mentally alert. I had to give up driving because of this COVID, and I just didn't want to be exposed to all of the people picking them up at the airport. So I'm starting a new business, and I'm becoming a day trader on the stock market, of which I know nothing about. But, I have so much energy, I really need to, not in a negative way, in a positive way. And but one of the things I was telling one of your customer service representatives, which brings you back to your topic tonight, which is thyroid, is that, I was not paying attention, but I would say in the last 2 years, I would say essentially as a 73-year-old, you assume that it's natural that, you really don't have any sexual drive and, basically you don't have any sexual function. And, I just took it as a sign of age. Well, I've been taking this now for, I take magnesium, I take Remag, I take potassium, I take zinc, I take silver, I take vitamin C, I take vitamin D. Some of those are newer. But I take, a full complement of everything every day. I take 3 teaspoons of magnesium a day, 1.5 of, the Remag, and, the others as you've recommended. Right. And, suddenly I'm waking up in the night like a teenager with a physical erection. And, I'm saying to myself, why didn't I have this 25 years ago?
That's pretty cool. That is very cool. You know what I'm thinking right now, Bob? You've got such a great voice and great delivery. Why don't you start doing podcasts about your health? To do the over 70 club. This is how you get healthy. That would give you something to do. Seriously, I'm totally serious.
Well, I thought of it. I thought about becoming a health coach because I've read, probably, 25 or 30 books on nutrition, and I'm a vegetarian. Mostly a vegan. I really watch my diet. I don't have milk. I don't have any sugar. I really watch sugar. And so I'm very healthy. On average, I walk about 4 or 5 miles a day. So, I have physical energy. I have mental energy. I have emotional energy. So, I would say that, my experience is I've told lots of people like the previous guest, and I've had very few people except my brother who was a runner. And I told him, I said, look, you had kidney stones. And she says, this is good for kidney stones. And he started taking it and he stopped getting kidney stones. And he takes now Remag. I would say the one that was the biggest surprise, or I know of colloidal silver from earlier, but never really took it. But when your silver came out, Pico Silver, I started using it every night as like a mouthwash, and as an elderly person, your teeth begin to ache, and it's just normal. And since I rinse my mouth every night, and instead of spitting out the rinse, I swallow it because it's good for me.
Exactly.
And so
don't waste it. You don't.
Yeah,
waste
you bet
it.
your life. You bet your life. So, but my teeth and my aching in my teeth and my in my gums is completely gone away, which I assume is because the bacterial overgrowth in my gums and all, which you can't get, and all the rest has all been killed by this constant soaking in the silver. Yeah. And last night I had a sore throat, and I used a nebulizer, and I did silver. And this morning I woke up, I didn't have a sore throat. So I've become a disciple of Dr. Dean. So if I become a spokesperson, I run a thing for the 70s and over, I have to acknowledge that this is greatly influenced by Dr. Dean.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you could become a health coach and become, what do we have, Ginny? People that sell our products. What are they called?
Customer service?
No. Oh, yeah. Claudia and Bob, totally customer service material. Are you kidding?
In fact, I talked to Julie. I asked her whether you guys were hiring. I said, look, I need something to engage me. And I said, I could talk to customers all day long.
That's so, well, we'll have to figure out an honorary role. The great thing about our customer service team, and we've just got a minute or two till the top of the hour, but you guys will stay with us, but over the top of the hour. But the great thing about customer service, our people are so dedicated, they never quit. So we just keep, they just keep picking up more momentum and everything else like that. But we'll figure out something. We'll do something fun. We really will, because you've everybody, we have, as a matter of fact, we awarded our customers the video competition. We'll talk about it in the next hour. And we've got such wonderful customers. Amazing people. So
I finally got to the thyroid at the end, or the impact on the sex hormones. But it was unintended, but it really showed me. What you say is that the elderly population after 65, we're all suffering from is really mineral deficiency. It's really mineral. It was very clear. Here I am at 73, regaining a function which I thought was just turned off naturally. And it's not turned off naturally. It's turned off because of a depletion.
Amazing. Right.
Very good.
Yeah,
and we're going to say goodbye. Aloha to Claudia. Thank you so much for
nice hearing your story, Claudia. It was really inspiring.
And good to hear yours too, Bob.
Okay, Bob, you stay on with us, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this break here at Dream Vision.
Yeah, I'm here for the bye.
Very good.
Bob's here for the duration. Yes. So aloha, Claudia. Thank you,
Claudia.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love and uniting Dr. Carolyn Dean with the world. Dr. Carolyn Dean, thebomb.com. Yes, she was absolutely hilariously awesome on Instagram with our very good friend Jack. And his handle on Instagram is Manifest McClinton. And we are going to get it onto YouTube and stuff, so those who don't have an Instagram account can see it, because it was the total wrap, man. It was so great. Great exchange and fun information. Jack, so wonderful. And Carolyn just had a good time sitting in her chair with the beautiful trees of Maui blowing behind her, and gave out such good information. And of course, now returning to hour 2 with our call-in panel, our listeners of epic proportion. We heard from Bob and Claudia last hour, and Bob's with us again. And now we're going to be joined by Debbie. Wonderful to have Debbie here. And also, again, reminding, if you have questions for Bob or Claudia or anybody who you'd like to talk to, you can just hit us up on the YouTube chat. You can hit us up on the chat at Dream Vision 7, and we'd be happy to take those questions. So for anybody who wants to do that, those questions. Okay, now I do have a question from Tracy, Carolyn, I want to put in before we bring Debbie onto the show so that we can get that in. It was from the last hour. Just make sure that kind of fits in. One of the things that Tracy asked Carolyn was, I've heard from Dr. Andrew Saul that if you put your vitamin C powder in water, it loses the potency throughout the day, so better to drink it right away. Do you think that's the case? Uh-oh, wait a minute, where'd my Carolyn
No,
go?
I'm good. No, I don't think that happens. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Ascorbic acid has a certain chemical formula that would not be disrupted by water. And I'll look into it. I mean, if Andrew said it, maybe he has some experience, but I'm not going to let that guide me to make me want to chug down 2 grams all at once. I mean, that's just going to overload you and give you the laxative effect. So I still abide with sipping through the day, but I'll email Andrew and ask him what's up with that.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay. Remember, the vitamin C reset is boosted by the none other than RNA drop formula. And, they just add a special zhuzh to everything. So I wouldn't worry too much about our powder, but yes, very good, Carolyn. We'll check with Andrew and see what he has to say. Now, hour 2, Debbie, you've been so quiet and so patient to be with us, but I know you have so much to share. So now you know what take it away means. You can just take it away.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. It's so nice to be here. Well, I'll just kind of start my story. My journey with Carolyn Dean's information has taken place over the last few years. I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. I'd say that was about 10 to 12 years ago. And from that had hyperthyroid problems. And I chose treatment at that time. It was a medication called PTU. And so that brought that under control. And then about 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with primary amyloidosis. It's a blood disorder. And I had a stem cell transplant for treatment. And I've been in remission since the transplant with no other medical treatments. But of course, I needed to recover from being very sick and from the transplant itself because it was very difficult. So healing for me has been a process on many different levels. And so it was maybe a couple years ago that I started to read the Magnesium Miracle, Dr. Dean's book. And then I saw her on YouTube, and I also began to listen to the radio show. And I was mainly drawn to Magnesium Miracle because I was having such sleep problems, and I had them for years. The hyperthyroid, of course, did not help, but they continued after that. And so I tried the Remag. I had been taking magnesium glycinate for a number of years prior to that, but that just didn't seem to do it. So I ordered the Remag, and I began working with that, and my sleep began to improve. I really noticed it, and especially when I added the Remag lotion. So that was just a real blessing. Some nights I'd even sleep through the night, but if I was going to get a solid 5 hours, that was just wonderful. And sometimes then when I'd get up to go to the bathroom and come back, I could go back to sleep. So that was my first success. But I started to notice then about a year ago that I was experiencing what I thought were probably hypothyroid symptoms. My hair was falling out. I was constipated, cold a lot, sluggish, and depressed. So I went to my doctor and I asked for the thyroid blood test. And my TSH level was a little bit high, a bit above normal. And although I wasn't really out of range on that T4 free or the T3 free, I guess that's what those were called. Those were in the very kind of low normal range. Because of my symptoms, my doctor said, well, okay, we can try a low dose of levothyroxine. So I took this and I was excited because it helped for a while. But, I really don't like being dependent on any medication. I'm really wasn't really taking anything else. That was my only thing. I was always kind of adjusting it too. So, around this time, like I said, I was listening to Dr. Dean's radio shows, and I heard her tell her story of how she took the Remite and was able to take herself off the thyroid medication for hypothyroidism. So I got myself some Remite. That was my next product. And I started out with a 3/4 teaspoon in a large glass of water first thing in the morning when I got up. And at this time, I was also taking my thyroid medication. And over time, I don't remember exactly how long, but I started to notice that I was developing some hyperthyroid symptoms. I was getting very quick to anger and anxious. And since I'd been hyperthyroid in the past, I knew these feelings. So, I talked to my doctor and we scaled the medication way back. It was almost like a non-existent dose, really, but I was still taking some. And so eventually it just happened that I just got off of it. I completely got off of it. And I had my blood tested last week for, I think it was the T4 free and also TSH, and everything is just nice in the normal range. So I'm going to go see my doctor in a week or two. Sometime in November is my appointment. And I will be able to share all of this with him. So, and someone else that was just on, was his name Bob, who was just on?
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, okay, Bob, he's still there.
Yes, I am.
You were talking about this sexual desire or, that you'd been experiencing. And I'll tell you, in the last, I'd say month, I've been turning around, and I'm 64 years old. So that for me has been a real neat thing, because after the stem cell transplant and everything I went through with the high dose chemo, because that's what you're given with that, and all their recovery time, I just didn't know if that was ever going to come back. But it seems like there's some awakenings there.
That's wonderful.
So
We've had a couple of customers who've mentioned that, but yeah, that's not. We'll have to start a club, right, Jenny?
Yes, there's been some good progress.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's been a real blessing. I was noticing with the magnesium, it's still waking up and not maybe being able to get back to sleep. For me, that's sometimes other things too, but I did get the potassium, pico potassium, and I think that's helped even more for me.
Yeah, yeah. That's wonderful. That would be the next thing I would say, and I'm glad you got it, because they do seem to balance one another out, and we just aren't getting enough in our diet. It is quite incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, that's wonderful. Ginny, anything to ask Debbie?
Okay, let's see. I'm looking. Any thoughts? Okay, so just for the panel now, Carolyn, also for you specifically, any thoughts on thyroid damage because of Hashimoto's? What do you think about that? A shrinking thyroid, Carolyn, because of Hashimoto's disease?
Well, Hashimoto's is an inflammation of the thyroid. And when I list the triggers for thyroid problems, there's GMO foods, there's gluten foods, there's yeast toxins. So when you start addressing those things, then the inflammation stops. And if there is some cell destruction, then certainly with our formulas, especially with our Pico Silver, you have new stem cell production, and those stem cells will differentiate into what's required. So if your thyroid isn't perfect, then the blueprint, your God-given, nature-given blueprint, is going to say, well, just push some of those stem cells over here to the thyroid. Let's pump it up. I do not believe in that damage has to stay with a person. So you can, look at our people who've had, even just Claudia here, who had the irradiation of her thyroid and her cells came back. Your body wants those cells to come back. That's natural.
I have one client, or a very close friend, who used to be a client from my consulting business, and he had Hashimoto's, and I got him to take magnesium for another problem he had, and then I said to him, look, you really should try taking the magnesium. You don't need to be taking that the hormone that you're taking. And he started taking a low dose of that. And, but he said, look, they told me that that the thyroid was dead. There was nothing left there. And, he got to the point where he had to reduce his medication on I don't think he maybe was taking 1 teaspoon a day of the Remite. And he went to the doctor and they tested him, and as you say, it had ticked up and he needed to reduce the medication. And he's not a real believer. I think that's one of the things that, I was thinking about. The people who are touched by how this medicine and how these supplements really make you believe or make you feel so much better, it's really then when you grab a hold of these. Everybody that I've tried to convince by way of try it, read the book, and all the rest, have had very little success. But if anybody tries it a little and it really makes them feel better, you can't get them to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
you can't win them through their mind.
No, it's not a left brain thing. Yeah, Bob, we'll just have to put it in the water supply.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, by the way, I took the fluoride out of my water supply too.
Oh, good. Yeah, because that'll bind up your magnesium. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you just don't want to stop. It's like, give me more. Because
but I was just trying to repeat, build on the point that you were saying, and that the previous woman was saying that, when she started taking it, she realized that her thyroid had come back to normal. And that's exactly what this person who said he was told his thyroid was dead, by taking the Remite, it came back, and, the doctor was confused.
Yeah, the doctor was confused, aren't they?
Yeah, the doctor was confused. He didn't know what was going on here.
Wow. Yeah.
I was going to say, this is Debbie. I was also going to say, I think it would be worth mentioning that I had to kind of work with the magnesium for a while. Like, I think it takes discipline. I drink the water and I do the sea salt and the magnesium and all of that. But there would be some times when I get maybe a little rushed or just try to get it over with where I drink too much at once in the beginning. And then I would notice some, loose bowels coming from that. And so I realized that I was just getting too much at once. And I would have to drink it throughout the day, stretch it out. And so it took me a little while to get the hang of it. And I think also just being patient, because, if all of these processes are turning back on, you just got to give it some time. And I guess I've really learned that from being so sick after my stem cell transplant. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks and had acute kidney injury, and I had 50 pounds of water on my body, edema, and also respiratory failure. So, I've seen how, really the experience of what your body can do and how it can heal. And it really does, take some patience sometimes when we're doing things like this. But
Right. And I remember with chronic fatigue people, as soon as they started feeling a bit of energy, they would just run around and trying to do everything, and then they crash. And then, most of the time they say, "Oh, I guess I did too much." But some people would say, "Well, I guess it's not working because I'm not feeling better," and they didn't realize that they'd done it to themselves. And that's again where our customer service is so awesome, because they're able to say, well, what were you doing? What were your thinking, feeling, taking before you crashed? And then there's always an answer of how they just did too much or took too little. I mean, some people will forget to take their products or their formulas for a day or so, and then don't know why they get some symptoms back.
Yeah,
that's a question, doctor. That I have is, and maybe your other customers would have the same question, is I feel like now I've been taking magnesium for close to 3 years. And, from the first month onwards, I was taking 3 teaspoons a day. And I'm one of these, analytical and, kind of compulsive in terms of once I get on something, I don't stop. So I've been taking it religiously for 3 years at that dosage. And, I think that's a pretty, from what you say, you went up to 4. This is a steady 3 all the time. And yet I feel that if I miss for a few days, it's, I can feel it. And I wonder, what is the average person who's not taking these minerals, and I know eat terrible diets, how can they even be surviving? So, or maybe I just have a system that, consumes magnesium at very high rates.
Right. Yeah, I know it's a good point, but just look at the statistics, Bob. 70% of the whole population is overweight.
Right.
Is on at least one medication and has at least 2 chronic diseases. They are not happy. They are not happy people. I mean, they may, you may pass by people and they look fine, but you stop and talk to them for 5 minutes and you'll find out how sick they are and how bad they are feeling. And with your 3 teaspoons, I would have thought that you'd be getting a bit of the laxative effect by now to show
I've gone up to 4 and I've never had a lax. And in the beginning, I took it, during the day, bit by bit like that. And I found that interrupted my day. I'm driving a car and I got to, take people to the airport at 3 a.m. and hey, I got to just take this. So I would drink 4 teaspoons, at once.
Right.
With the Remag, with the Remite, the Remag, everything all together, with a big glass of tomato juice that's got 800 grams of calcium, potassium chloride. So I'm getting 900 milligrams of potassium also. So you know, and I'll just drink it down, and I never had diarrhea yet.
Right. And you could, I think myself, I used to think I was like a magnesium waster, that I needed the 4 teaspoons. But now I tried to take 2 teaspoons a day this past week, and I right away, no, it took about a day and a half. I started to get the laxative effect. I test myself like that every once in a while. So I've either healed up my wasting condition, or I was just so depleted. It took me that year and a half and 4 teaspoons to get to saturation. So it'll be interesting, because there's no test. I mean, there's no test beyond for magnesium wasting beyond some complicated 24-hour urine, and you do an intravenous of magnesium, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard to define a wasting condition.
Yeah, I just thought, I have thought many times that I must be somebody that, you know, has a system. You know, I lived in India for 30 years. And, you know, I was living in an ashram in South India. And I was sick all the time. And, you know, with the fevers and this and that, and, you know, so you go to the doctor there, they don't have a lab, they don't, you know, but they're used to people coming in with all kinds of, you know, seasonal fevers, which is like the flu, but they call it fever season. And so they'd give you 2 antibiotics, take these 2 antibiotics 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, and come back in a week. So, you know, for years, I mean, 10 years, you know, twice or 3 times a year, I was taking antibiotics because I was in the bed, you know, and, and I don't know whether that damaged me, and that was maybe even the cause of my diabetes, because they say that if you really killed your gut by so much antibiotics, that it can affect it can bring on diabetes.
Right, and certainly yeast overgrowth. So that would, I don't know if, certainly with your present diet and everything, you've probably taken care of all that, but have you tried the Flora Revive?
I have. I've tried everything that you put out, but, you know, the problem is that, you know, there's a limit, and, you know, so I stay with the essentials that I feel really make sense for me, and that's the potassium. And I've added the zinc now because of the COVID, and I've taken the vitamin D to get that level up also. So, you know, I'm taking a fair amount of the materials, and I feel good for it. I'm not complaining. I figure I'd much rather spend the money on this than to take medicines. This I know is replenishing my system. Yeah. And that's what, you know, I feel really good about that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Exactly. But, I know I've said many times, I never thought I'd be taking so many supplements again. Years and years ago, we were taking handfuls of everything just because everyone was pushing supplements. And I was really excited that I just needed a few things. But yeah, with COVID and the way we have to support our health, I had to put out those other supplements, and we're getting the side benefits. Jenny talks about a rash of a couple of years that went away. I know it's helping with anti-aging, the lineup of immune supplements. They're doing a lot for us, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, so anyway, I didn't mean to get you off the topic, but I take a lot of this, and I just wonder, you know, if the average citizen needed to take this much, you know, do they have what the other woman was? Is it Debbie?
Yeah, Debbie.
Yeah. Yep. You know, Debbie was saying, you know, she found it hard to get on and stay with it and stick with it. If everybody had to take 6, 7, 8 of these things, I wonder how much, you know, do people really have the persistence?
No, I don't think they do. And there's so many levels of intake. Some people, as you've probably heard, will take a 1/4 teaspoon of Remag and say, you know, their world has changed. And and how long is that going to last, though? Because usually, you know, people will feel good in the beginning, but then symptoms come back as your magnesium is sort of shunted off to its 1,000 enzyme functions. You're going to require more. So
Right.
we don't know how many people stick with it, how much they take. We do encourage them to take more than just the Remag, but some people think that's it. That's all they want to take. There's so many levels.
Yeah. I must say that you found a believer in me, and I did it only after trying it not with your product. I tried first with just the oils because I said, I got to just see whether this really works. I'm an experimenter. So I figure almost all the medicine, all the minerals I take, for me, it's an experiment. So I document, how do I feel? What am I doing? What's the result? Because I really want to know, am I just kidding myself, or is there really a benefit for them? But I have a brother who runs, this year he'll walk 4,000 miles. So, he walks, 100 miles a week almost, it's crazy. But anyway, he takes silver all the time now. And, body aches and, so many things. And he's just found it. He also found it, with the teeth. He has bad teeth and he started. So, he religiously takes that. And he's also started nebulizing a little bit once in a while, too.
Does he take the Remag as well? Sorry.
He takes the Remag and the Remag.
Okay.
And he takes the Pico Silver. Yeah. And he takes it regularly. He's been taking it for two or 3 years now.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I would have to say that I'm an experimenter too. And it's really nice. It's really nice to be sure something is working. So that with the Remite and my thyroid, it's just made a believer out of me because I have that experience.
Right.
And then developing habits. I have to just find some ways to take the most important things in my life. And, taking the Remag is that important to me, and then the potassium. And I just seem to, it just takes some time, but I just find ways to make myself do it at the same time each day, or, add that little action into my life. So that, and the silver, for me, that's been really good in a nebulizer. I was having sinus trouble for many years. I'd always end up with a sinus infection. And so I have the silver in a little spray bottle. I think it might be cut with some distilled water, but I do spray that up my nose sometimes.
Oh, we bought the same thing, bottles. We bought bottles.
Yeah, but
even when we went to vote, there were so many people in line. We took the spray bottle with us and put it up our nose while we were standing in line.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I usually use the nebulizer, though. That seems to keep my sinuses clearer than anything. Yeah. And then I also got my vitamin D level up to about 70. And with the new immune system, I think that's fine for me.
That's cool.
I just feel real good about it. I just feel good. So,
Yeah, and taking the magnesium, the Remag, along with the vitamin D, that helps balance everything out. I was, as you've all read, I was very worried about high-dose vitamin D for a long time because people weren't using magnesium. But now that we've got the grassroots health testing and we can follow people and they're taking their magnesium with it, it's really going to have such long-term positive consequences. I know because the grassroots health, they're telling us people who have, up to 90 nanograms per mil, they're doing studies on cancer, preventing breast cancer and prostate cancer. So
I've got a friend that's doing that. So I'm anxious to see my results so I can tell him. I'm going to send in my results this week also for the grassroots test.
Oh, that's
So-
great. Yeah, that's great. Let's go over to Ginny and see if there's anything on chat that
Well,
we
we've
have
got
to.
some callers waiting that want to talk to everybody.
Oh,
So
okay.
can we bring some callers in, Carolyn?
Sure, please.
Okay, very good. Let's go to area code 310. 310, I'm asking to unmute your phone. There you go. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mark, and I wanted to comment about some of the products, the magnesium and the minerals and the pico silver, helping me because I have been diagnosed with an enlarged prostate, and I'm having a Urolift procedure on Wednesday, and have trouble sleeping. Could not sleep due to the feeling of having to urinate real bad, and it was a burning sensation in the prostate bladder region that was driving me crazy, and I could not sleep. But then I was given the Remag and the Remite and the Pico Silver, and we made a little drink with it, and I just wanted to say how it relaxed me, and I slept like a rock, and it took some of the inflammation feelings of that region away.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Great.
Have you read in the Future Health Now encyclopedia? I have a section on prostatitis where I talk about it being a yeast, possibly being a yeast infection, where the Flora-Revive could help.
Well, that's something I want to look into. I mean, obviously we did the scope and we did the blood work, so there's no cancer, thank goodness. And, you know, there is two lobes that are kissing together around the urethra. I'm in the beginning stages. I'm in my mid-50s, so I'm not quite at that point where some poor people have the two lobes smashed together like two loaves of bread, and it's just crushing the urethra, and they just go through a lot of pain. But I was feeling this feeling of, it's like a burning, inflamed feeling in my bladder where I feel like I have to urinate even though the bladder has just been drained. And it drives you crazy. It's why we don't wet our pants and stuff. We have a nerve that triggers our brain to tell us it's time to urinate, you know, if you don't. So it's like, and that was driving me crazy. No melatonin, no natural stuff would allow me to sleep. But when I did a mixture of all the products I mentioned, and we did the drops in the water, and then I kind of diluted that with some juice so it would be a little more tasty. And I drank one big jar of that a day. I would sleep like a rock at night, and it took that sensation away. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have this procedure of the Urolift on Wednesday, which is one of the more acclaimed procedures to put in clamps and separate the prostate. And it opens it up, and you get 100% of your, well, it's about 98% erectile function will continue, and it's supposed to be really good. Now, if I still have irritation, then I'm probably going to want to look into other things because, like you said, it could be something that I take a lot of supplements. I do exercise a lot, and I eat healthy, of course, but, you know, sometimes we can do things that could irritate the prostate, too, and the bladder.
Right. Well, that's wonderful, Mark. That's really good news. And yes, to get after it in your 50s instead of waiting, because, you know, a lot of our customers, they're in their 60s and 70s before they find out what's going on. So it's good to hear.
Well, I started having this feeling, and I couldn't sleep. I'd be up all night because it's just, you're tired as can be, but you lay there and it's just that little burning, nasty feeling where you feel like you have to pee really bad. And it's like an ice pick poking you in the brain saying, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep. And oh my God, but the magnesium and whatever, all the products we mentioned, we make that drink. It relaxes my mind, and it makes that sensation subside to the point where I can fall asleep, and I sleep in a deep, peaceful, wonderful sleep that's deep, like a REM sleep. I wake up the next day, I'm full of energy. I feel good all day, which is a godsend. But this procedure, I want to attack it now because, as you know, with the Supreme Court just changing, their goal is to take away the Affordable Care Act, and my girlfriend and I are both benefiting from the Affordable Care Act. This operation won't cost me anything. So to get this done now, we're also professional entertainers, so obviously there's not much work now. So this is the perfect time to get this procedure done now because prostate only gets worse. And a man, people don't realize it just keeps growing, and if you don't deal with it immediately, it's just going to get worse. And I don't ever want. I've heard horror stories, you know?
Yeah, well, there's so much going on. Like you said, the Remag is cutting down the inflammation. The zinc in the Remite is very good for the prostate. The mineral for the prostate is zinc. The Pico Silver, that's going to be going after any sort of infection that's there. So you've got it covered. So that's great, Mark. I'll move on to the next caller if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, thank you. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And let's go to area code 719. 719. I'm unmuting your phone. Area code 719.
Hello.
There you go.
Hi. My name is Pamela. And I wanted to ask the doctor about something that Claudia was sharing about. First of all, I've been recently having more heart palpitations and a feeling of what I call feeling like I'm out of breath. I don't know if that's due to a heart palpitation or what that is. But when she said that, Claudia said that she was having heart problems when she stayed up late at night, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've been staying up later at night. Do you think that could be a cause of what's going on?
Well, it's not going to be a direct cause. What she was saying is when she wasn't getting her 9 hours sleep, it would put stress on her. And then I guess stress on her adrenal glands, and then that was causing her to have the palpitations. I'm just making that up, but it could be that you're not having enough sleep, or that your adrenals are stressed and you're getting adrenaline surges, or that you're just very low in magnesium and potassium. All those things.
Is that what the feeling like I'm out of breath is about also?
Right. When I used to have my heart palpitations, when they'd start up, it would make me cough. I'd have a little, maybe trying to reset my heart rhythm. Some people will feel that it makes them have to take a deep breath, which can reset your heart as well. And then some people interpret that having to take a deep breath as being short of breath. Have you read my heart health book, Pamela?
I keep trying to get to it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, well,
I will.
Yeah, that'll just give you some answers, but certainly I'm happy to answer your questions, or anyone in customer service can help you. But are you doing the Remag yet?
Oh yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years.
Oh,
and I'm on 3 teaspoons every day. I don't know, the last couple of months went up to 3 teaspoons. After hearing you guys today, I'm wondering, should I try going up to 4?
Well, are you on the Pico Potassium yet?
Yes. Yeah.
How much of that?
What is it called? Say in the bottle, a quarter of a teaspoon or something like that.
Whatever
it says on the bottle.
Because with the Pico Potassium, what you do is you go online to an app called Chronometer, CRONOMETER.com, and figure out how much potassium you're getting in your diet, because the quarter teaspoon is only 99 milligrams, and most of us are requiring 400 to 800 milligrams, which would be 1 to 2 teaspoons.
Oh,
so
okay.
That could be the next part of it, is just getting your potassium up to scratch.
Okay, well, that is good to know. Because I haven't been having any palpitations or anything for several months, and then all of a sudden now I started having this again, and it's been fairly regular, a few times a week.
Yeah.
So
now, Is there anything, is there extra stress, or have you changed your diet? Has someone moved in with you?
No. Well, I'm definitely stressed. My work is always very stressful, but I really have not even been working much at all. In fact, I haven't worked at all for a couple of weeks now. And when I do work, I don't work more than a half a day anymore because it just is too hard for me. It's just too physically demanding.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm even going to do that anymore.
Well, that's probably a good decision because you don't want to stress yourself. So maybe you've just used up all the potassium you're taking. So think about that. Think about increasing your potassium and get in touch with the customer service to let us know how you're doing or if you have questions. Okay?
Okay, I would like to also ask, because I feel that I still do have some anxiety going on. It's definitely better, but I was wondering, it says on the Realign to take 2 a day. Could I take it up to 3 if I feel like I need it?
You can, because the B complex is low dose. But I think the potassium there might also be the clue, because with low potassium, you can have anxiety, excessive thirst, anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, kind of the things that go along with low magnesium. So it may, for some reason, I mean, I know you haven't read the heart health book. I also have a pico potassium book that you may not have time to read, but in there I talk about the importance of potassium and how it just works hand in hand with magnesium.
Okay, well, that would make sense. Okay, I will definitely work on that then.
Okay.
Thanks.
And do keep in touch. I really mean that. Okay, Pamela?
Okay, I appreciate that.
Oh,
thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, everybody, excellent. And also, for those who are listening, definitely look at our webinars, Carolyn. I know you always say read the book, but don't forget we have an amazing heart health webinar, and sometimes that's easier for people to read or to listen to a webinar, especially, if they can listen to it on their phone going to and from work, something like that.
Right.
So very good. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Just clarifying, Carolyn, if a person feels a little too sped up, we're still at the 3/4 dose of 3/4 teaspoon of Remite for a health maintenance dose, correct?
Of Remite? No, it's a teaspoon and a half.
No, for health maintenance, just basic of an everyday person is just doing 3/4 of a teaspoon is the daily dose.
I suppose I've forgotten that we have that probably on the label. I think most people should probably be on a teaspoon a day.
Okay. All right. Very good.
That's what I'm on. And I think a teaspoon a day is probably better than the 3/4.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right. Very good. And also just to remind everybody that if you do have a question for Dr. Dean or anybody after the show's over, questions, questions at Dr. Carolyn Dean Live is where you'll want to send those. We've got some people on the YouTube chat asking some questions. I just want to make sure you get those through so that you can get the attention that you need. We won't answer them a little bit too medical for the radio show, but you can definitely work through customer service. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? I think we're good. Carolyn, did you have some questions you wanted to do? Or are we talking to our panel, or what are we doing?
Well, I think I should go through some of the mailbag questions. We only had 5 of them, and Debbie and Bob can chime in if they have anything to add from their experience. But let's go to some of these. Pam is asking about a thyroid nodule that she has, and I don't know if she has a biopsy on it or or what they've done. She says a large indeterminable thyroid nodule. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They usually do a biopsy and find out if it's cancer or not. But the doctor wants to remove my thyroid, she says. Now, if that's the whole thyroid, then she says, what are her other options? Well, I would ask the doctor what the biopsy showed. Why not just remove the nodule and leave the thyroid? And I think what happens there is a lot of doctors just think, well, thyroid, and, we can just give her levothyroxine for the rest of her life. What's the problem? But obviously we know from our guest panel and all our customers, they don't want to be forced into that position. So that's what I would say to Pam. This person is, Donna, is saying that she's been on levothyroxine 50 to 75 micrograms for 15 years. She started taking Remag a year and a half ago, gradually added Remite, Recalcium, Pico Potassium, Pico Zinc, Pico Silver, RNA reset drops, and D3K2 reset. She says, I still plan to add realign and restructure. I also take iodine. Now, right there, my back, the hairs on my back of my neck stand up because I don't like people taking high dose iodine because it throws all the chain of minerals down the line off. It forces the body to make too much of the first chemical in the chain to make thyroid hormones, and then the other minerals are trying to catch up. So I would tell Donna to really consider weaning off the iodine, because there is enough iodine in Remite if you're taking that teaspoon and a half. And she says her second hair mineral test shows things to be pretty well balanced. She's feeling good. An itchy rash on her side went away. Toenail fungus is gone. And so what does this sound like? Yeast overgrowth. And she says, I've thought all along these problems may have been caused by yeast overgrowth, leaky gut. The doctor had nothing to tell me about this except to give me fluconazole a couple of times and steroid creams. They were no help. Now, what's even worse is this fluconazole, which is an antifungal. It's a fluoride drug. So the two fluoride molecules in fluconazole are going to bind up her magnesium. And she says, I believe what has helped me is all the supplements or complement formulas. Then she says, could the supplements I've been taking have possibly caused or allowed my thyroid to start working better? I've had some hot flushes or really just warm whole body episodes numerous times a day. It continues to get more and more bothersome. I'm 73 and I've had a hysterectomy. I'm on no other medications. So this is exactly what we've been talking about, Donna, where you go and get your blood tests. If you're still on this Levo 50 and 75, then maybe it's time to wean off or wean back on them. So there's another thyroid healing. This next person, Nancy, is saying, I'm seeing results. I'm already on Dr. Dean's protocol. Now, she gives us some interesting information here. She says the company Thyroid Supplements has gone out of business. All our naturopathic doctors here in Washington, et cetera, possibly the whole nation. Big Pharma is reorganizing Thyroid, making it a prescription. So I need Dr. Dean's help. I have half a thyroid on my right side and left side with nodules removed 2007. In 4 months, my supply of Thyroid will be gone. So I'm seeking answers. So that's what we've been talking about, Nancy. It's the Remite, working up to a teaspoon and a half a day, and the Remag. The Remag is going to be very helpful. You can also look at the other formulas. and read my book, Total Body Reset for the Thyroid. That's free, a free download at carolyndeanlive.com. And who's this? Julie is saying, I'm interested in the topic. I had my thyroid removed because of stage 2 cancer, thyroid cancer. Now on Synthroid, been there for 6 years. Also, I'm 52, seeing hormonal changes, weight gain, low energy, and adrenal fatigue. What would you recommend? So that's exactly what we've been talking about, where the adrenals and the thyroid, they work together. The Synthroid probably isn't doing all it should for your thyroid, and the sex hormones are kind of crashing, and the adrenals are crashing a little bit. So it's like a total body meltdown, and it's a matter of doing your Remite, your Remag, probably your Realign for detox. Look at our, I have a booklet on weight loss and the one on thyroid to get supportive information. And as Ginny said, we probably have a thyroid adrenal webinar. So hopefully that gives you some place to start, drcarolyndeanlive.com. Maybe read the Remite Recalcia booklet and the thyroid booklet, but you definitely can support the part of your thyroid that's still there. I mean, Claudia had her whole thyroid irradiated, and Bob's friend had his dead thyroid that improved. And the last one, Ginny, this is someone who's talking about her daughter having a certain genetic condition where part of her gene number 22 was deleted. And what this condition can have is congenital heart problems, frequent infections, developmental delay, learning problems, cleft palate, associated kidney problems, hearing loss, autoimmune disorders such as rheumatoid arthritis and Graves' disease. So there's could be a lot going on. And what her 16-year-old daughter has had Graves' disease. Okay, so where is she now? Sorry, I'm at 16 years of age. She had her thyroid irradiated because of Graves'. She's been on Synthroid since. She's currently 35 years of age, been complaining of severe fatigue. She's 100 pounds overweight and has trouble sleeping at night. I'm wondering if she may have adrenal fatigue and whether your Remite will be able to help her in any way. I wanted to get her off Synthroid and put her on something more natural, but doctors say Synthroid is easier to monitor and control. Yeah, they don't really know much about the desiccated thyroid products. Any advice would be appreciated. Well, I think, Mary, if you listen to the whole show, you'll realize that you can support thyroid cells that are still remaining. You can use the Remag for sleep. You can use all our products for her various symptoms. I see we're at the top of the hour, though, and you can go to drcarolyndeanlive.com and check out our books. You can get in touch with customer service for more specifics. So,
thank you. Yes, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Debbie, for hanging with us. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Real pleasure.
Yeah, it was great fun. Thank
it
you.
was fun. It was really fun. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, my Bob and Rachel and everybody involved with the show and all the listeners. We really appreciate you. Aloha.
Aloha.
Oh, aloha.
seek meaning? Listen to nature-inspired stories.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life